All right, hi everybody, my name is Anna, I'm the registered dietitian here. Thank you for being here. I wanted to go over this in-service called input and output documentation. So we're going to be reviewing input and output measurements that provide accurate fluid balance of a patient's critical state, correct record keeping of daily inputs and outputs, provides vital information that can possibly save a patient's life. So we're going to overview inputs and outputs that affect the health and quality of care for the patients, and we're going to also discuss information to protect you and the patient's safety in relation to appropriate documentation. I'm going to be emphasizing this expectation by conducting weekly audits on correct documentation of input and outputs on EMR ProTouch. And we will also be acknowledging those who are meeting expectations of accurate documentation within monthly employee incentive rewards. So I'll talk more about that later. There's 3 objectives that I have for this presentation. It's going to be, the first one is to distinguish an accurate fluid input and output to maintain fluid balance. The second one is going to be measure your fluids appropriately from various outlets, including ostomy bags, Foley bags, and urinals. And the third objective is choosing the correct record-keeping approach of measuring milliliters for input and output. So if you look at your figure quiz, we're going to talk about these questions. And this is the first objective. It's distinguishing an accurate fluid input and output to maintain fluid balance. Is it kind of hard to see? So the first question says, how does figure 2 differ from figure 1?
You want us to write it down here?
Yes. So you can see in figure 2 that we have the colostomy output documented correctly. In figure 1, there's a discrepancy, but I want to see if you guys can see it. So we have colostomy output 200 mLs, and we also have colostomy times 1. Next question, is figure 3 and figure 4 documented correctly? Yes or no? I'm going to give 10 more seconds. Okay, and then the last 2 questions are going to be on these figures. So we have figure 4, figure 5, and figure 6. So is figure 5 documented correctly?
I need more info.
So this is going to be voided. So this is urine output.
No, I understand that.
On a chuck. So we don't have a urinal for this one. We don't have a Foley bag or a urinal. And you can see that 2 different nurses documented this patient in 2 different ways. So it's kind of a trick question. For this one, I would say yes and no. No, because they documented it as incontinence times 2. But in this one, the nurse documented it approximately 400 mLs void chuck. So she's putting an estimation, which helps us get an actual ml measurement from urine that is excreted onto chucks.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay, and then the last question is, what discrepancy in fluid balance exists in this photo, which is figure 6? So if you can see, out of these 6 days, 3 of those days out of the week, there was no intake documented. So we're gonna have a negative fluid balance because this patient drinks their PO, so they have all of their fluids by mouth. So the nurses are not documenting on certain days, such as this one, 70, 63, 136, 63 on the end. They're only documenting pretty much a minimal amount of fluids that they're catching the patient drink, but their output doesn't reflect the amount of fluid they're drinking. So that's why we're having a negative 2,364. So it's super important that we're documenting our inputs and our outputs accurately so that it reflects a normal fluid balance. And I wanted to go back to the first question because we didn't go over it. How does figure 2 differ from figure 1? Does anyone want to tell me their
That's the
answer?
volume. Figure 2 has a volume as opposed to the counts.
Correct. So figure 2 has volumes of mLs versus figure 1 only has times 1. So this is going to be considered inaccurate and not a measurable amount of fluid that can be basically documented. Okay, objective 2. Measure your fluids appropriately from various outlets including ostomy bags, Foley bags, and urinals. So I brought Foley bags and urinals and also an ostomy bag so that you guys can measure your own fluids. Do you have them over there? So what I'm gonna have you guys do is you're gonna open these juices, you're going to place them onto the bag, into the Foley and into the ostomy, and then you're gonna measure them into your graduated cylinder. I broke down this process to have you guys in groups of 3, and since we have a group of 2, we have a group of 3, you might have to do some extra steps. So one member is gonna fill, the second member is required to measure, and the third member will document accurately. So you're gonna measure it through the graduated cylinder. You're gonna pour liquid. And then I have a Foley as well that you'll be pouring. That's a Flexi Seal.
I can just pour it.
It's not always.
And then you pour it in there so you can get your measurement.
Oh, this one is. Let's do that. That looks like poop.
She does that. I know that.
This is me.
Ideally, I would like you guys to use your sodas for your stool output and then juice for urine.
That's in the glass.
This
Flexi.
liquid, this can go in your ostomy.
Well, no, there's something that we.
Oh,
Well, how am I gonna get this in here?
How much? All of it?
I know, so that's why I brought extra. I bought extra graduated cylinders.
I'm not smart. I know how to document.
How much do you have to put in here?
Do you want me to help you? To put it in here? Yes.
It wasn't such a dumb question after all.
Okay.
Like when you get the, just like for the gas.
If you want, I can show you guys how to do the Foley. So let me do it. I don't want to wet the computers, so I'm going to try to do it over this graduated cylinder.
You thought I was off. Oh,
Here, remove your phone so I don't.
Oh, okay. I can do that.
I'm gonna tell you
Yeah.
that. This needs. Oh,
This person.
I should do my dad's though.
that one's dehydrated.
So I'm going to need one of you to hold this down. So
Here,
we
I
can
can-
gravity, so we can gravity this.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh, that really messy.
alright.
It looks like dehydrated meat.
Stephanie, you're the nurse, so you will be able to.
No, that's typically not how we put urine in here. So, no. That's typically not what I do.
We will be creative.
You can pour as much as you want, I think.
Yeah.
As long as you're able to measure.
Yeah, so that you do that. So then what you'll do is you'll pour it into the graduated cylinder,
Some
and then you're
bolts
gonna
are-
write down how many
That's what we
mLs you pulled out of that bag.
Okay,
That's a really
measure
good
how much I peed.
Yeah.
That's about all we have in there. That's probably accurate.
50?
We got about 50 mLs, write it down.
With foam or without foam?
You're gonna have to call the doctor about the phone. Cause,
She has.
is this our actual
50?
seat? Is this our actual,
You can write it there, yeah. You
this
can
is
write
our form that we use here?
it. Yeah, that's the form that we use here to document. Yeah.
Because
And
the
I
night
sent you
shift doesn't
guys-
use this.
I passed out this form, which is documented on ProTouch. On ProTouch, you're gonna see this when you document your inputs and outputs.
What is
So whenever you're doing your urine, that Foley, you're gonna press voided. And then if you have stool, then you go to stool. And then how many mLs is that? Almost like 100 mLs, yeah. So you can document that urine output right here. So here on the voided, you can also document it here, voided.
But that's not voided. Voided is typically when somebody goes to void and not a Foley output.
Oh, so then where would it be documented on here?
It's a whole different sheet, it's a whole different screen.
Oh, okay.
Stool output, this is stool.
I wish we had the computers working so we could pull up ProTouch because I wanted to see that pathway. How much stool
Probably
output is that?
200.
200? Okay.
Oh, gotcha. So this
Well, we're gonna have to, there's 15 here, so
will subtract from this?
They don't have flexi.
All right, guys. I'm gonna move on to objective 3. You guys can keep working.
Where's flexi?
So
Oh, there.
for objective 3, we are going to choose the correct record-keeping approach of measuring milliliters for input and output on ProTouch. I gave you
no.
a paper of the typical record-keeping data sheet that we have for our CNAs. So I highlighted right here, intake, output. We have our PO intake, we have our PEG tube intake or NG, the void, the Foley. We have a bowel movement output. We also have the FlexiSeal and we have the ostomy. So we're giving you the materials that you need to be able to document correctly from which source their intake or output is coming from.
So 300.
And I wanted to go over the difference between milliliters and times 1. So when we're documenting on EMR ProTouch, what is the difference between, that was really loud.
That
Sorry.
is like being in 90s.
Sorry. What's the difference between milliliters and times 1 on documentation? Can anyone answer that?
Times what is, how often they went? Like they only went once?
So-
Or they emptied it once, if it's a Foley, right? And then milliliters is the accurate measurement of volume.
Precisely. Milliliters is an exact measurement versus times 1 is an occurrence. So it's very vague and we're not able to really know how much their hydration and fluid status is. So the effects of not inputting clear measurements on the overall fluid balance of a patient's chart could lead to electrolyte imbalances. It could also cause missing data, contributing to organ dysfunction, where it also could lead to the clinical team not being able to make sound clinical decisions such as diuretics, fluids, vitamin or mineral supplementation. And in a worst case scenario, it could also lead to mortality, right? So it could be life or death for some of these patients if we don't have a correct fluid balance. And I also want to emphasize we will be doing weekly audits in order to enforce this measurement, and that participants are implementing the correct measurements over time. So a random selection, part of this audit will be a random selection of 2 patient charts will be audited per week to evaluate for accurate measurements and documentation. And then for those who do document correctly, we have some incentives such as gift cards and special treats. Does anyone have any questions before I let you move on to the evaluation? No? Thank you guys.